Today, let's talk about the well-known Trojan War in European history. The ancient Greeks considered this war to be the end of the mythical age, or the beginning of the historical age. People have not forgotten this classic story even after 3,000 years. Because myths are involved, it is easy to understand why the Trojan War left so many doubts and mysteries, and why many people even doubt the war's authenticity. The classic part of the Trojan story is also inextricably linked to the decisive factor in the Trojan kingdom's demise: the Trojan horse. Today, we will review this ancient story that occurred in the Mediterranean. The war took place in 1200 BC in Troy, a city in the eastern Mediterranean located in modern-day Hisarlik, Turkey. The war was waged by a confederation known as the Achaean League, located on the island of Peloponnese in present-day Greece. The cause of the war may sound ridiculous now, and it has become legendary. The three Greek goddesses needed Zeus' judgment to obtain the golden apple, which was inscribed as the fairest one. But Zeus didn't want to get involved in the goddesses' feud, especially since his wife Hera was still involved. So he assigned the decision to a shepherd named Paris. The shepherd had no idea who he was at the time, but actually, he was the prince of Troy. As each goddess wanted to receive the apple, they each stripped off their own clothing and appeared naked before Paris. Each of the goddesses also offered Paris a gift as a bribe in return for the apple. Hera offered to make him the king of Europe and Asia Minor. Athena offered him wisdom and skill in battle. And Aphrodite offered to give to him the love of the world's most beautiful woman, Helen of Sparta. As a young man, Paris chose Helen without hesitation and gave the apple to Aphrodite. Paris went to Sparta under the guise of a so-called diplomatic mission to bring Helen back to Troy. They've lived a happy life since then. Oh no, it's not that simple of this story. In fact, this is where the misfortune begins. Helen is not only the most beautiful woman in Sparta. She is also the wife of King Menelaus of Sparta, who is, of course, Helen's father's political choice. Helen's betrayal enraged the Spartan king Menelaus, who summoned all Achaean kings and princes to war against Troy. The Achaean army was massive, led by Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, and Menelaus' elder brother. According to legend, there were 1,186 Achaean warships, each carrying 50 to 120 men. We can infer that the number of Achaean troops was around 100,000. Many historians believe this figure is exaggerated. In any case, we can imagine the Achaean army gaining momentum. However, as a strategic location in Asia Minor, Troy is not to be taken lightly. The city walls of Troy are said to have been built by Poseidon, the god of the sea, and Apollo, the god of light. The Achaean army of 100,000 fought for 9 years under the city of Troy, and still failed to win. In the 10th year, the warrior Odysseus, known for his cunning intelligence, came up with a trick of building a wooden horse, as a sort of trophy. An inscription was engraved on the horse reading, "For their return home, the Greeks dedicate this offering to Athena." Odysseus hid his soldiers with the horse, and the rest of the Achaeans burnt their tents and left by night. The Trojans were curious and perplexed by the giant wooden horse in front of the city wall. Scene known, a soldier was left in front of the wooden horse, claiming that the Achaeans had decided to give up the battle and had left the wooden horse as a gift, an offering to the goddess Athena, by way of apology for the Greeks' desecration of Trojan temples. Trojan priest Laocoon, and priestess Cassandra, were terrified of the Greeks, and both warned the Trojans not to keep the horse. But each of the Trojans, drank in the joy of victory, ignored the warnings of the two of them, and rolled the horse into the city. Scene known, the Achaean spy signaled the fleet when it was midnight and the clear moon was rising, and the soldiers from inside the horse emerged. They killed guards and opened the Trojan gate. The Achaeans entered the city and killed the sleeping population. A great massacre followed which continued into the day. The majority of the Trojan heroes were killed or enslaved. After that, the Achaeans burned the city and divided the spoils. The Achaeans won the battle. But the gods were very angry over the destruction of their temples, and other sacrilegious acts by the Achaeans, and decided that most would not return home. A storm fell on the returning fleet, and many were shipwrecked. Agamemnon had made it back to Argos safely. Menelaus returned to Sparta after an 8-year journey. Similarly, Odysseus embarked on a 10-year adventure before returning to Ithaca. The aforementioned plot appears in Homer's masterpiece, Odyssey, and Virgil's Aeneid. The epic poems, Iliad and Odyssey, by Homer date from the 11th century BC, which were the only source for ancient Greece. Homer is regarded as one of the greatest writers of all time. As we mentioned earlier, what makes the Trojan War so moving is that it is a half-myth and half-true historical event. Before the 19th century, historians thought the Trojan War was just a work of fiction. The lack of archaeological evidence was one of the most important reasons. Second, in Homer's writings, the Achaean League could mobilize 1,000 warships and 100,000 troops at the same time, to carry out the war. No country in the first millennium BC had such a large mobilization capability for a 10-year siege. However, Heinrich Schliemann, a questioned German archaeologist, was obsessed with the stories of Homer and ancient Mediterranean civilizations. He dedicated his life's work to unveiling the actual physical remains of the cities of Homer's epic tales. Between 1870 and 1873, he discovered 9 buried cities and treasures, on Mount Hisulk in what is now northwestern Turkey. From the remains, the cities appear to have been destroyed by war, with traces of fire, which Schliemann believes is Troy. I'm sure you are thrilled to hear this. Has Troy's puzzle been solved? However, the truth is, recent research confirms that some settlements at the site date back 3,600 years, more than 1,000 years earlier than Troy's record of 3,000 to 2,000 BCE. Despite his errors and wrong conclusions, the world has continued to consider Heinrich Schliemann one of the most significant archaeologists of all time. Another question that I believe you still have is, why did the Greeks create a horse? What did this imply? We appear to have found the answer according to historian Michael Wood's In Search of the Trojan War. Trojan horse was really a giant battering ram or siege engine, used to breach the city walls of Troy in a more forceful, and less sneaky, manner than the wily Odysseus plot. The device may well have looked a bit like a horse. The Assyrians at this time liked to give their siege engines animal names. He strengthens the idea that the Trojan horse may well have been a poetic name, of sorts, even before it first appeared in an actual poem. The Trojan horse made the Trojans fall into the tricks of the Greeks to defraud, and thus the term is commonly used today. The Trojan horse has become synonymous with viruses or malware that misleads users to run it willingly in a computer program. Today's story does not seem to be related to the real horse. But we learned that horse not only represents a living creature, but its meaning has also been extended to a broader field. Perhaps the horse is regarded as an illusion, and a belief, that has a profound impact on us today. All we need to do is review and reflect on history. Thank you for watching. Leave your comments if you love this classic story. Ponycycle Horse Channel is committed to telling full stories of horses to help people review the relationship between humans and nature. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.